Hi, ito po si Art. Kamusta po sa inyong lahat diyan? Panoorin po natin itong interview ni Tucker Carlson ng Fox News dito kay former President Trump. At katulad nga po na nangyayari dito sa buong mundo, especially dyan sa China and Taiwan, ay sasabihin nyo sa inyong mga sarili na sana siya pa rin ang presidente ngayon. Panoorin po natin.
Mr. President, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Last week you were in New York for this arraignment. The world watched it. You've not given an interview since. You were there, I think, 57 minutes. Tell us from your perspective what that was like.
Well, it was a horrible thing because I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. You look at even the pundits and the legal analysis, Greg Jarrett, all of these really talented people, they're saying he didn't do anything wrong. So that's number one. Number two, they were incredible. When I went to the courthouse, which is also a prison in a sense, they signed me in. And I'll tell you, people were crying. People that work there, professionally work there, that have no problems putting in murderers, and they see everybody. It's tough, tough place. And they were crying. They were actually crying. They said, I'm sorry. They'd say, 2024, sir, 2024. And tears are pouring down their eyes. I've never seen anything like those people are phenomenal. Those are your police.
Yep.
Those are the people that work at the courthouse. They're unbelievable people. Many of them were in tears or close to it. Many apologists were sorry, sir. We're sorry. They had to have me do certain things. They said, sir, I can't believe I have to ask you. I can't even believe that I have to ask you to do it. You could see. So in one sense, it was beautiful because they get it. In another sense, you know, it's nasty. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. They didn't teach me about that. That wasn't like
they didn't
in the
about the arraignment part?
That wasn't. We didn't have a class on arraignment. And you know, it was a sad day in many ways, and in many ways it was a beautiful day because the people understand. I didn't know this was happening, but the poll numbers have gone through the roof. The people get it, and the other ones are hoaxes also. You know, the box hoax. Look at Biden; he's got 1,850 boxes, and you know that's a hoax. And then the one in Atlanta where I had a perfect phone call. This is all weaponization. They're weaponizing.
Alam nyo talaga nung siya nag-umpisa na siya tatakbo, na siya bumaba sa escalator na sinabi niya, na-announce niya na tatakbo siyang pagka-presidente, and that then, ginawa na siya ng mga plano na talagang pigilan siya. Kaya kahit na nanalo siya, the first day, keep impeaching him so many times. Talagang ginawa ng itong mga Democrat, ginawang lahat ang magagawa, ma-impeach siya ng mga panahong yun. Hanggang sa ngayon nga, pero ituloy natin ito.
Our justice system, Tucker, and they think if they go and give you a subpoena, you know, I guess I'm very well known and people understand it and they get it, and maybe I have a bigger platform so I can explain it. But if you're somebody, a Republican, let's say, running for office, and you get a subpoena, you might as well resign because you're not going to be able to survive it. And the voters aren't going to handle it. The voters aren't going to take it. What they're doing is weaponizing the system, and there's never been anything like it. And it's all disinformation.
Ganyan kakurap ang Democrat. Lahat ng Democrat, maging Senate, Congress na Democrat, Senate Democrat, yung special yung presidente, even yung Vice President, lahat ng Democrat, pati siguro mamboboto, talagang korupsyon na ang alam nila.
You see, the other day, Afghanistan, one of the worst things I've ever seen, I think the most embarrassing moment that this country's ever had, frankly, the way we got out, not the getting out, we had to get out, it was ridiculous to be there. And I had that so good, so tight, so tough. I spoke to the leader, Abdul. I said, Abdul, if you do anything, you're going to get hit really hard. Literally, he said, but sir, why? Why? He goes, why, oh, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you'll have to figure that one out, Abdul. But we didn't have one death in 18 months. He knew, not one death. And then to see the way we got out, like we were surrendering, like taking the military out first, leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind, giving up Bagram. I was going to keep Bagram. I was getting out, but not for Afghanistan. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. It's one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world, I think the biggest, with runways that go 10,000 feet. I was keeping that because of China, not because of Afghanistan.
Right.
And they They left everything. They left in the dark of night. They left the lights on. They left the dogs, by the way. You know, the people
They
say
left the
about the dogs. They left the dogs. Everyone, you know, the dog lovers, and you got a lot of them. I love dogs. You love dogs. But they left the dogs. People said, what? One of the first questions I got, what did they do with the dogs? Mostly German Shepherds. They left them.
Those are the trained dog ng mga army sa mga para na hinahanap nila mga bomb kung ano nung mga kuan. Pero iniwanan lahat.
They did. The way they got out was so horrible. Okay, everybody knows that was their plan. That had nothing to do with me. I was getting out too. We would have gotten out with strength and dignity. And what happened? They got out. And the other day I hear, yeah, it was Trump's fault. Oh, that's right. It was Trump. I was gone for a long. I would have been out faster than them. We would have had all the equipment. We would have had the American citizens. We left hostages. We left Americans behind. Many, I think many more than you think. And we had 13 soldiers killed. And nobody ever mentions the fact that we had many maimed so badly. No arms, no legs. Their face was obliterated. This is the way this guy got out. We would have gotten out with dignity and strength. We were going to. But I was taking 100% of, I said, I want every nail. I want every screw. I want the tents. They said, sir, the tents are very hard to take out. I said, I want the tents. I want the tanks. I want the planes. I want everything. And a couple of them fought me on it, like Millie. He said, sir, I think it's cheaper to leave the equipment behind. I said, let me ask you, we have a plane that cost $100 million. It's sitting there. All it needs is a tank of gas, right? Give me a little jet fuel. We'll fly it to Pakistan or any place else, or we'll fly it directly home. You say it's cheaper to leave a $100 million plane? Sir, I think overall it's cheaper. These are idiots we're dealing with. They left $85 billion worth of equipment. They left our American citizens behind. And they moved the military out first. No, you move the military out last. I did a little skit with a 5-year-old kid. I said, let me ask you, here's the situation. I explained the situation. I said, would you take the military out first, or would you take it out last? I take it out last, 5-year-old. But they took the military out first, and they were afraid of our military. When I was there, they were afraid. We didn't have one soldier killed in 18 months, Doug. Not one soldier was killed in 18 months. And then we got out like we surrendered. I think it was the single most embarrassing day in the history of our country. It was totally their fault. They didn't go by anything because, you know, we had a system of getting out. But if the Taliban, in particular, the Taliban, because that's where the action was, right? When I called Abdul, the press went crazy. The fake news went crazy. Why did he call an enemy? I said, well, it's Jesse James. I used to ask him, why did he rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Why did I call the head of the Taliban? Because that's where the killing was. And he's there now, Abdul. I'm sure he likes me. He called me Your Excellency. I don't know if he calls Biden Your Excellency. Probably. I mean, you know, they're one of the largest arms dealers now in the world. They're selling the $85 billion worth of it because they only need 5% of it.
Of course.
They're selling the equipment. They're one of the largest, I think, second arms dealers. Brand new helicopters, brand new airplanes, brand new tanks. Unbelievable what we left behind. We ran, and there was no reason to. I had them. I could have stayed there for 5 years if I wanted to. I wanted out. 21 years was enough. I wanted out. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. But when I see what happens, when I see the level of stupidity, and because of that, it's all a big web. Because of that, I think Putin, who would have never gone into Ukraine when I was there, would have never. I talked to him about it often. Would have never, ever done that. When he saw that I wasn't there, and he saw these fools, these stupid people, and think of that, the way they left Afghanistan, and nobody was fired. I fired a lot of people because if they didn't do a good job, I'd fire them.
May I ask you, talk to Putin about Ukraine? What did you say to him?
I could see that he loved it. And I said...
he loved Ukraine.
He considers it to be a part of Russia.
Yeah.
I said, not when I'm president. We had a very good relationship. I mean, look, I was the worst thing that ever happened to him. I closed up his pipeline. You never heard the words Nord Stream 2 until I came along. Nord Stream 2 was their pipeline. And I had a great relationship with him, but it was very tough because they had a fake Russia investigation. And I told him, and he told me, he said, it's very hard for us to deal, don't
Yung Nord Stream 2 is galing sa Russia na sinusuplayan ang European ng natural gas.
you think? I said, very hard, because we have a fake investigation that turned out to be a fake. For 2 years it went on.
See, that's what happened. This Democrat, he keep trying to take him out of there. Mga fake ang ginagawa talaga. Ni Hillary, lahat tulong-tulong sila mga Democrat. Pero talagang, ngayon, ano nangyayari? Naglalabanan, magkakawar. Di tuloy natin ito para mapakinggan pa ninyo.
And we could have done very well with Russia. They have great minerals. They have great things that we want.
There you go.
We could have, and they need the money and they need other things. But that interfered. That was a terrible thing. That was actually a treasonous thing to do. Those people should have been arrested. They made it up.
They should have been in jail. Pero ito ang gusto nilang ilagay sa jail na walang makita. Naging nakasalanan. Diretso
made
pa.
up a problem with Russia that didn't exist. Now they've all admitted it didn't exist. It was just on to the next one. I often say, they said to me the other day, one of your fellow journalists said, who's the biggest problem, sir? Is it China? Could it be Russia? Could it be North Korea? No, I said, the biggest problem is from within.
There you go. Sinasabi niya, ang malaking problema dito sa Amerika, itong mga Democrat. Talagang itong mga Democrat ang magpapabaksak ng Amerika. Biro mo, 2 taon lamang. Hanggang ngayon, bagsak na. May mga war. May war sa Ukraine. May war dito sa yung mangyayari ngayon dyan sa between China and Taiwan. Yan ang mga ginagawa ng Democrat. Sinasabi ko sa inyo na kapag ang may power ay mga Democrat, ay talagang 85% up to 90% magkakawar. Hindi dyan sa, maybe not in the Asia, but for sure, laging sa Middle East. Ituloy pa natin ito.
It's these sick, radical people
They are
from
sick.
within, because we can handle, if we're
Lahat ng
smart, we
Democrat,
can
they are
handle
sick.
Russia, China. I did. I took in billions of
Yeah, nung siya naging presidente, wala nga naman kwan. Walang war. At yung taripa na sinasabi niyang he took so much money na hindi rin, maraming nakakalam na hindi mga tao talaga eh. Okay, hindi ko na may paliwanag dito. Sino yung next time na laang, idiretso natin ito.
billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No other president took in anything, and they respected me. He's the same thing, you know. I told him, you can't go into Taiwan. You can't do it.
There you go.
I won't tell you exactly what I said, but it was something that probably a lot of people wouldn't like if they heard.
And in his watch, hindi naman talaga nangyaring si nag sa Taiwan, nagpupumilit na pumunta doon nung siya naging presidente. Biro mo ang ginagawa ng Democrat. Ang mga ginagawa talaga ng Democrat itong sa ngayon, kaya magkakaroon ng gera, kasalanan din ito ng Democrat. Pero ipaliliwanag ko yan sa next time.
But it was very tough. Don't go into Taiwan.
Sana yung mga bumutong mga Pilipino sa Democrat ay happy ngayon sa nangyayari. Magkakawar dyan sa malapit sa Pilipinas.
If you do, we're going to have problems. Other than that, we're going to be great relationship. We're going to have a great relationship. And he said to me when I said we're going to do something, if he goes in, no, you wouldn't do it. I'll do that. I swear I'll do that. And he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. The same thing with Putin. I said I was going to do something really nasty if he goes into Ukraine. He said, no, you're not going to do that. I said, I will. And he didn't believe me either, but he believed me 10%. And the 10%, you never heard talk about going into Ukraine. You never heard talk about going into Taiwan until I was no longer there. Now, what a mess the world is in.
Yan ang nangyayari ngayon dito sa Amerika. Kaya sinasabi kong talagang napakahirap pagka ang Democrat ngayon ang hinuhuli na andito sa Amerika. Siya ang mga hinuhuli. Kung ikaw ay Christian, huhulihin ka. Ang gusto nila mga bakla ngayon. Kahit nga babae, hindi na nila ginagalang. Bakit? Pinapalta na nila lahat ng mga bakla. Pero ipaliliwanag ko sa inyo lahat yan sa mga susunod ko pang pagbibideo. Ito po yung part 1 lang na ipakikita ko sa inyo na talagang nangyari kay Trump. Na sa mga nangyayaring ito ay talagang iisipin mo na sana nga si Trump ang presidente pa hanggang sa ngayon. Otherwise, hindi natin pinag-uusapan itong war. Maraming pong salamat. Ito po si Art.